What's up, people? Welcome back to another episode of Stars and Garters. I'm Katie Pettit, and today it is Top 10 Tuesday, and I have talked about Disney quite a bit on this podcast, and something I probably have explicitly said, but even if I haven't, you probably gathered by now. I really like Disney villains. There's something different about them from other movie villains, but they're great. A lot of them are great. Some of them are mid, but most of them are just great. Maybe it's because they just have a really fun personality and it's actually kind of hard not to root for them. Maybe it's because they are actually like really evil and they're just very villainous, or maybe it's just because they're just so iconic and it's pretty much impossible to not know them and like them in the sense that how you like villains. Not that you like things that they do, but you like you know, the way that you can like villains without getting in trouble. That's what I mean. So, of course, if you hadn't figured out by now, today I'm going to give you my top 10 Disney villains of all time. So, let's get right into that. Alright, coming in at number 10, this one is a lot less on the I like her, just like her personality and everything, and can root for her, like, or, whatever. It's just she's so high on the scale of, like, dang, she's really bad. No matter what her movie tried to say about her, number 10, I have put Maleficent from Sleeping Beauty. Now, I have not watched Sleeping Beauty in forever, but I know that Maleficent is just like a really iconic villain. Like, everybody knows her, and people just are into her, she's just really bad. She didn't get invited to a party, so she decided to murder a 16-year-old girl. And that's pretty bad. That's pretty villainous of her. Um, yeah, she just does evil really well. She's just not a good person in any way. I don't know what they were thinking, like trying to make her sympathetic in that movie, because I'm not gonna watch it because Maleficent, she's bad. She's evil. She's petty. She's not a good person. But that makes for a really great villain, and that's what she is. She's just, you know, iconically evil, and we don't need to try to do anything else but that. She looks evil, she sounds evil, and she's just bad. She's just which makes her a very, very good villain, because that's what we want. Or sometimes it's kind of fun to have one you can root for, but this one, it's just she's not good. She's straight up evil, and that's kind of refreshing at this point, honestly, for a villain. Now that being evil is good. I'm not getting in trouble for this. I could say things about liking villains and not be bad. So, yeah. Uh, alright. Moving along. This one is pretty similar. It's not that we like him, it's just that he's really evil. But it's higher than Maleficent because he's a little more cool. He's a little more, uh, likable, I guess, but he's still really bad. So the next one we have at number 9, we have Jafar from Aladdin. This guy, he even like just looks more evil than Maleficent. Like, I can see him scaring some children. I can see some like just he's a creepy looking dude, and he is creepy. Everything he does is real creepy. He does not have anything redeemable about him either. And basically, he doesn't even, like, unlike Maleficent, he doesn't really have a reason to be doing what he's doing. He just kind of wants to. So that's worse. um, and he just kind of wants to take over the kingdom, so he does. And that's his whole thing. He's super creepy, super snake-like, and just a not great dude overall. He has a great sidekick. Iago he's way more easy to root for than Jafar, but he's a great sidekick. He has a he does have a villain song. Whether it is a good one or not, perhaps we shall not comment on that. Or we can. It's weird. If you want to go listen to Prince Ali reprise, is that how you say it? It's odd. It's very, it's a villain song, and it's not necessarily bad, just kind of weird. I mean, it fits his whole vibe. It's kind of creepy. It's kind of like, it makes you a little bit uncomfortable, and it's evil. It's not. It's bad. Which he's just really good at being bad, and yeah, it's a creepy little dude. Very good villain. All right, the next one. This is just she. This one is it's the most. It's still we're still on that scale of like just because they're so bad, not necessarily likable. But this is the one where she just fully embodies just being like a really nasty person in like the best way, and that makes her an awesome villain. She doesn't even do the worst things, but she's just nasty. She's just annoying. Um, so at number 8 we have Cruella de Vil. Again, they tried to make her sympathetic, and honestly, Cruella wasn't a terrible movie, but it wasn't the same person as Cruella de Vil we're talking about right now, because she's just terrible. She's mean. She doesn't like any other people. Um, and she's like pretty okay with everything that she does. She thinks she's like pretty reasonable in wanting to skin the puppies and basically everything else. Um, she doesn't have a song herself, but the song Cruella de Vil is a banger, even though there's like a whole 2 minute stretch of just piano, which I don't really like. But some people do, and the words part of it is great. And it's basically like all this, like some of these other villains in here are wanting to like murder people and take over kingdoms. She just wanted to make a coat out of puppies, which is not good, but it's still not the worst thing that other people have done. But like just the way that she acts is like she knows, it's like she knows she's not a good person, and she's totally cool with that, which makes for a really great villain. um yeah, she's just kind of the worst human, and her song says like all these awful things about her, like she's just the worst, makes her seem like the most evil, terrible person ever, when all she does is honestly not that bad in comparison. But just the way she acts, the way she carries herself like she's a horrible person and she knows it and she's okay with that, makes her a really, really good villain. Thanks for that, Wyatt. Okay, moving on. Alright, we have the theater kid villain for sure. Great villain song. But this one, she's a little bit more likable, to be completely honest. Just because she's like she's just good at what she's trying to do, and she is committed. I'll say that. So at number 7, I have Mother Gothel from Tangled. Now this one, yeah, she was definitely a theater kid, because Mother Knows Best is a banger, but if you watch it, she goes all out. She's doing all her acting, and she's getting really into it, and she does really well. Spectacular performance. But honestly, she is very committed to staying young. She is, you know, she's just willing to do anything, and again, just makes for a really good villain. Like, she stabs people. She has this whole, like, kind of almost psychological messing with Rapunzel. Like, she's very, like, she seems so sweet at sometimes. She's like, oh, well, does she actually care about Rapunzel? But she doesn't. But that's very good for a villain. She's very manipulative, probably one of the more manipulative on this list, because all she wanted to do was just like steal some fancy hair so she could be young. But like she she didn't really have to do much for that, but she was just all she had to do was like manipulate this one person, and she did it really well. And then when that stopped working, she just like started stabbing people. So she was super committed, and she had like a whole plan, and it was working for a really long time. Um, and also, again, this one, she's a lot like Cruella, where she's just like kind of the worst, but she's cool with that unless she's around Rapunzel, because Rapunzel has to think she's not the worst. So she plays the, you know, I'm a villain and I'm cool with that side, but also the side where she's like almost seems like a cool person, but is not. So she has both of those things going for her. It's kind of we're kind of getting to where it's like she's really bad, but also she's kind of cool in a villainous sort of way. Um, so yeah. Also, this is like the villain song here is excellent. Mother Knows Best is a banger. So that's definitely coming into play as well. All right, so number 6. Um, See, this is where the balance thing comes in, because I just, as a character, love this person. She's awesome, but as a villain, she honestly doesn't. She's not that bad, but she does do bad things, but she's not as like super bad. It's more. This is more just like she's great every time she was on screen. I mean, just for the record, this movie every time all of this movie is great, and every character is great, so it's not really a surprise. But at number 6, we have Yzma from Emperor's New Groove. So yeah, just everything. She's obviously like everything else in this movie. She's super funny. Um, just yeah, hilarious. Her voice actress Eartha Kitt did an amazing job, and as far as being a villain, she doesn't. She wants to kill one dude, which is still bad. I'm not saying that's not wrong. But she only just wants to kill this one dude, and she kind of has a reason for it, so she's not super bad. Um, but she just the who she is, the character that she is so great. It's hilarious. She's very determined. She's kind of like she is a bad person, like just her personality. She's not a great. You don't want to root for her, but she is just she's hilarious. Yeah. She has. I mean, it's she has like Kronk. She gets Kronk. Kronk is great. I mean, Kronk is not a part of who she is as a villain, but still, she has a great henchman, which does help with that. Um, but honestly, she is just it's her character is so great. She's very like she sounds almost paranoid all the time. She sounds like crazy. She like she looks and sounds like a psychopath most of the time. But she knows what she's doing. It's just the way she does it is super fun and hilarious. So not super evil, just incredibly enjoyable. So that's probably why she's kind of bringing up the middle. Okay, so the next one at number 5, it's kind of she's more in the middle again. It's like she's pretty bad, but also she's like kind of cool is definitely not the word for this one, because at number 5 we have Ursula from The Little Mermaid. It's not that she's cool. It's just that she's very um I don't know. She's just if she let's say this, if she wasn't a villain, like I feel like she would just be like you would just want to have her on your side like with anything, cuz she's just very confident. There you go. She's like really confident, and she's really I don't know what to say without making it a little bit weird, but she's just really confident, and she kind of makes you want to root for her, even though she is bad. Like the way she does things, the way she carries herself, you kind of like, oh, I really wish she was good because she thinks she's great. Um, and if she was good, it would be so easy to root for her, but she's not. She's bad. She like she wants to take over the kingdom, and that's not good. And I mean, she does have some kind of beef with Triton, but still, she wants to do some bad things. She tries to murder some people. It's not great, but uh, you know, it's just the way that she does all these things. It's like you almost want to root for her because like she's telling you the whole time. She's like, I'm pretty awesome, you guys, with everything she does. She's like, yeah, I'm pretty great. And you kind of almost want to be like, are you great? Because you're just giving off that vibe. But in the end, she is a bad guy. She does a lot of bad things, and she's a villain. But she's almost likable. You almost want to root for her. All right. Next up, we have number 4. And this one for me is so high because I just can hate him so much. I absolutely despise this man. Um, and it's very easy to despise him. And I think that's a good job if you're making a villain. Um, there's a lot of things that can make a good villain. Obviously, they can actually be kind of likable. They can just be evil, not you don't necessarily hate them, but wow, they're really bad. This one, I hate him. They have written him to where I just can hate him with just every fiber of my being. I think he sucks. So, the next one on our list, number 4, is Gaston from Beauty and the Beast. Just every word that comes out of this guy's mouth just makes me want to punch him in the face. He's just so annoying, He's the worst kind of guy. He thinks he's really great, but he's honestly not that impressive. They're better guys, and like pretty obviously. So I mean, but he thinks he's awesome. Obviously, his whole song, his song is great, by the way. It's a banger because, it's like, it just makes him so hateable. And when it's a villain, it's really fun to hate them. So he's just the worst. He's very full of himself and he says stupid things all the time. And there's not one single likable thing about him. There's not anything about his personality that is good. He's just annoying. And again, he doesn't even do anything that terrible, that he's just a jerk. He's just honestly at the end of the day the worst thing about him is that he is a jerk and he doesn't even realize it, which makes him worse than the other ones who are like, you know what, I'm pretty terrible, but that's okay. I'm pretty cool with the fact that I'm not a good person at all. I mean, that's not a good thing, but when you're terrible and you don't even know it, that's just annoying. That's just like meh. And that's basically the entirety of what Gaston embodies. Just he's the worst, but he thinks he's the best, and that's meh, meh, terrible. Um, yeah, just narcissistic, misogynistic jerk face all around. And he's a villain, so that's okay. That's a good thing. That's a good job on the people who made him part. I don't know if that was grammar, but whatever. So yeah, Gaston just the worst, just terrible. Hate that man. So moving on. This one again. Actually, this one maybe, except for number 1, it maybe does the best of mixing the they're actually kind of cool and I kind of want to root for them, but like, oh dang, they're doing some terrible things. So, number 3, we have Hades from Hercules. Just first thing we want to mention about Hades. Dang, I forgot the guy's name that voices him. I think it was James Wood or Woods. I feel really bad. But whoever it was did an amazing job. Essentially created the character, made him super charismatic, super witty, kind of over everything, but like in a really cool way. Really funny, just all of those great things. Um, but yeah, shout out to the voice actor guy. One of the best performances probably ever in any Disney thing ever. Not the best, but one of the best. That's probably a whole nother top 10. But yeah. So with that other way, as I was saying, his personality, you just want to root for him so bad at some points. He's really funny. He's just cool because he's super over everything. He's just kind of, he wants this thing. He really wants this thing, but he's kind of like, he's just over it. And he's like, whatever, this can happen, or this cannot. I'm kind of losing my mind, but I kind of also don't care at all. So he's just hilarious, very quick, super quick. A lot of great lines come from Hades in that movie. There's a lot of great quotable lines in Hercules, and Meg definitely contributes a lot, but Hades maybe probably is the number one contributor to the quotable lines in that. But also, as a villain, he is pretty bad. Like, he does want to destroy like the entirety of all of the gods like up there, and he kind of just wants to get rid of all of those, kind of kill them all. And he wants to also, he also did try to kill a baby, which is not great. That's actually pretty bad. Uh, and so it's just he does both of those things so well. He's like a really terrible person. He does really terrible things, but he's also so charismatic. And it's just like every time I see him, I kind of like him until he does something. Which I think is really great and a really fun thing to do with Disney villains. So yeah, Hades, awesome. Love Hercules, by the way. Hades, I'm pretty sure he was one of my top 10 Disney characters of all time, which is episode on True View Radio, which you should watch. He's awesome. Um, all right, moving right along. So this one, we're kind of back to the side of just like bad person. It's similar to Gaston, except he probably has not Gaston, the person we're about to talk about, probably has the worst offenses of any of the characters. It probably maybe any Disney movie ever. He's terrible. Like there's no. It's not that he's likable. He's just like if this is the they're kind of charismatic and I kind of want to root for them villain side, and this is the oh dang they're just like a straight up terrible person side. He's like bam, like he just all the way up to this side on the just terrible person. He's bad. He's a villain through and through. He doesn't he's just not a good person. He's pretty evil, and he just embodies that more than anyone else on this list. And so I feel like if you like the movie and watch the movie, you know who I'm talking about. But in case you don't, number two is Claude Frollo from Hunchback of Notre Dame. Which so the him being probably the most evil person on this list and maybe in Disney ever, makes sense if you know Hunchback of Notre Dame. It's super dark. One of Disney's darkest movies. Love it. It's a great movie. It's beautiful. And you should watch it. But super dark. Goes places Disney does not go that often. But so Claude Frollo, for those of you who don't know, he tries genocide a lot. He is very self-righteous, and he thinks that just certain groups of people shouldn't exist, and he decides that they shouldn't, and then he tries to make them not by genocide. Um, so yeah, basically that's the whole thing. He does some genocide. Uh, and yeah, that's not great. We don't like the genocide. So yeah, he's just evil. He thinks it's like Gaston, except he doesn't even do it he does it in a very different way than Gaston. Gaston, it's kind of like he's stuck up and full of himself, and but the way Claude Frollo does it is it's like a self righteous way where he thinks that he's doing the right thing, and he's especially evil because he like thinks he's doing it for God in a super messed up way. So that's pretty bad, and he is just evil. This one, he just embodies all the evil. There's nothing good about him. Um, you want him to fail. You don't want anything good to happen to him, and you're like almost relieved when he dies at the end. It doesn't matter how bad it was. It's just like, yeah, please get him out of here. He's making me uncomfortable and frankly scaring me a little bit. But that's a villain, and that's what you want in a villain. So yeah, he sucks. He's the worst. Like he is literally probably the worst. As far as just being not a good person, as far as like morally, he's probably the worst person on this list. Number one isn't. But they kind of meet just the best balance of like they are like at some points they're just so likable and so charismatic and just really funny, and you kind of want to root for them a little bit, and at the same time they're really bad, and they do some of the most traumatizing things like in Disney history. It's just they do both of those things really well, and so it's kind of hard to tell whether you want to like them or not at some point, but at the end of the day they're a villain. So you don't, but you also kind of do sometimes. So my number one Disney villain of all time comes from my number one Disney movie of all time, which probably is a factor in it. But like, even if this wasn't my favorite movie, like part of the reason it is my favorite movie is because it has the best Disney villain ever, and that is Scar from The Lion King. Just, oh man, this guy. So first of all, he has one of my favorite, like, I'm not even gonna say Disney movie quotes, like one of my favorite quotes just to use at any time, and I don't use it that much because I can only use it around people who know that I'm not being serious. Well, I kind of am being serious. It depends on the situation. It depends on how salty I feel, which is usually pretty salty. But I have a shirt and I'm trying to get a hoodie that says this line. But when Scar says, "I'm surrounded by idiots," and I can't do justice to that line, only Jeremy Irons, I think, played him. Maybe? I hope I'm not getting that wrong. That might be his singing voice. I'm not sure. But yeah, it's that line is one of my favorite movie lines of all time. It's probably like pretty high up there, maybe top 5 movie lines of all time. But yeah, I'm surrounded by idiots. Honestly, just for a salty person like me, it's good. You just like when he says that, and it's like because the hyenas are jumping around being stupid, and he just delivers that line. It's just like, yeah, I feel that too, bro. Sometimes it's I get that. that hits Scar. But aside from that line, honestly, that line kind of sums up his personality pretty well. He's a lot like Hades. He's a little more dramatic. He's a little less like witty, charismatic, and he's a little bit more just like kind of drama ish. He's more dramatic about it, but he's still like really charismatic, and he is obviously really smart, which is the thing. Basically, his whole motivation, he's like jealous because everybody be like Mufasa, because Mufasa is strong and nobody cares about the smart people. And he's just kind of like, you know what? Let's do some murder to fix this. Which, again, he does one of the most traumatizing things any Disney kid will ever see. And like, forget just the scope of Disney movies. It's one of the most traumatizing things to ever happen in a movie because he kills Mufasa. So obviously he's very bad. He's a very bad person. Lion. That's confusing. Anyway, he's just not good. He's very evil. He does terrible things. He, is a dictator. He starves all his subjects, and he's just not good. He's bad. Very, very bad. But it's just, as bad as he is, that's just how, like, charismatic and funny and, like, smart and, like, almost, you're kind of cool. And then he, like, does things, and you're like, oh, no, you're not. It's a fun thing to play when you have both of those sides, and I think he does it the best of any Disney villain. He plays both of those perfectly. It's like basically equal, and it's like the highest. He's not the most evil, but he's like more evil than any of the others. He's more evil and more charismatic than any of the others who are like kind of in between those two. He does it better. He does both of them better than the other two. Than the other villains, and it's it makes him the best to me. Those are my favorite villains, and he embodies that the most, and that makes him pretty awesome in my book. As a villain, he's not awesome, but he's an awesome villain. He is the best Disney villain, in my humble opinion. So, there you have it. That was my top 10 Disney villains of all time. Obviously, tell me who are your favorite Disney villains, and why. Please say why. give long comments. They're fun to read sometimes, unless they're stupid, which is a lot of the time. But go ahead and comment anyway. Share, follow, subscribe, like, whatever. Do all the things you're supposed to do. Thank you for watching, and I will see you guys next time. Bye-bye.